How's it going, everybody? Today I did initially plan on uploading something about Trials of Osiris, but I figure I'll wait until tomorrow to do that. Today I want to talk to you about vehicles in Destiny and do they have a future in Destiny at all? Now, the reason I want to talk about this is because the Combined Arms playlist is back for the first time in the longest time, and actually seeing vehicles in the game is such a breath of fresh air that I couldn't help but talk about it today. So, why have I been playing so much Combined Arms? Well, mainly because I actually have diversity in the way I get to play. If you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll know that Widow's Court is my favorite map, mainly for the reason that it feels like you can actually counterplay people with your primary. Of course, if you play maps like Thieves' Den, Cauldron, all that stuff, all you're going to see is a lot of shotgun rushers and last word spam. But when you're playing on a bigger map like Skyshock, Bastion, or even First Light, you're going to notice there are a lot of snipers. Yeah, a lot of people do camp, but at least a lot more people are running primaries. You see a bit more diversity with the pulse rifles, with the scout rifles, and people who do stick close up, they do tend to run hand cannons and shotties, and it just leaves more diversity in the game. As you can see in this gameplay here, I am using the Outbreak Prime Pulse Rifle, and with the Pulse Rifle I'm doing very well. I'm a hand cannon guy, and this Pulse Rifle is really feeling good for me, able to pull off some decent streaks, able to get some pretty cool kills, and just able to have fun altogether. And that is because the maps are big enough to where primaries are actually viable. And if you do talk to a lot of sweaty players, they'll disagree with me. They'll say primaries are underpowered, that's why everybody uses specials, because a special does what a primary won't. But when you're on a bigger map with a lot more sight lines and a little bit more open space, primaries become that much more viable because they're actually usable. There's counterplay when you're in a big map because you don't have to worry about getting insta-rushed by a shotgun user. Now, of course, if you have noticed, especially with Titans in particular, if you aim down your sights at the wrong time for 1 second, they can go from not being on your radar at all to right in front of you within shotty range. On a map like this, like Skyshock, Bastion, First Light, you have a lot more time to set up. You can actually move around the map and catch people off guard. That's not something you can really do on the smaller maps like Thieves' Den and Cauldron. So I really wanted to take time to urge you guys to spend some time in this playlist, pick up an interceptor, get on your Sparrow, drive a pike around, and just have some fun with it. Yes, there will be people camping in the back, but here's the glory about that. You know exactly where they're going to be. The maps are big enough to where the spawns don't switch very often. It's very easy to predict where people are going to be. And if you're good with snipers, you can get a lot of picks. If you want to counter snipers, just bust out a Mida and you can pick them off pretty darn easily. Especially with the new nerfs to sniper rifles, it is a lot of fun. As for shotgun rushers, they're not much of a problem at all. As you can see in this gameplay, there aren't many people running shotguns, and I'm able to just post up with the primary and just do work from people that I catch on their blind sides. So really, guys, get into this playlist, have a bit of fun. It's something new. It's a breath of fresh air. This is what I wish Destiny was. This is more what I was expecting. A bigger map, team-based battles with vehicles, just to help spice up the gameplay. And in my opinion, vehicles are some of the best things to happen in Destiny ever, but they're so underutilized and underused. I understand why a lot of people do prefer the very fast-paced playstyle, but over time, I've come to like something a little bit slower, a bit more strategic, and yeah, I want to have more diversity in my gunfights. I spent a lot of time in Call of Duty running SMGs and ARs, running two guns for years and years, but when it comes to Destiny, there's much more room for development in the map variants and the weapon loadouts. So I just want to know, what do you guys think? Do you prefer something a little bit slower paced, where you can actually counterplay and try to outpredict teammates and outplay them that way? Or do you predict being super fast, hyper aggressive, and getting in there with your shotguns, with your close range primaries, and really cleaning up kills and playing really quickly? So let me know what you prefer down below. I really want to know. Like I said, I guess in my old age, I know I'm only 21, but I guess as I'm getting older, I prefer something a little bit more slower, something that takes a little bit more thought. And in my opinion, rushing with a shotgun, spamming last word, doesn't really require much thought, at least in pubs anyway. In sweats, it's a little bit different. But when you can actually have diversity in your gunfights and be able to use anything on any map, that's what's a lot of fun to me. That's the appeal of Skyshock and First Light to me. Not so much Bastion. Bastion's a little bit more catered to the scout rifles. But let's look at Skyshock, for example. If I wanted to run a hand cannon, I can run to the A flag, I can stand by the B flag, or I can stay in the buildings by the C flag. If I need to get in between buildings, I can just hop on my Sparrow, drive real quick, jump off, and I am in hand cannon shoddy range if I'm in those areas. But of course, if I want to sit back and camp in the back of the map, I can bust out a sniper. If I want to challenge with a pulse, I can post up on one of these rails here on this bridge. There's just so many things you can do, and it just feels so balanced in the way you can do it. Think about it. The closest thing we have to a map like this in the standard rotation is Widow's Court. And in Widow's Court, it's still very shoddy and hand cannon dominant because it's still a very small map. I think Destiny can benefit greatly from maps like this, maybe with a little bit more people, but I kind of like the 6v6 the way it is because there is a lot less incentive to run around with the shotgun.
Oh
But
man.
again, it all comes back to shotguns in the end. I really think they
Yeah,
need a
sounds
little bit of a
about right.
rework. I think the nerf to snipers was a bit harsh, especially if they weren't going to touch shotguns, but that's besides the point. So thank you all for watching, and let the rest of this gameplay finish off in the background. I do really, really well in this game.
What is he
But thank
shooting?
you
Oh,
all
he's
again. Let me know
door.
your opinions on these maps and game modes down below. I'll see you again soon. Thank you. Hey Felix, did I do work that game or what?
Nope.
Bro, come on.
Correct. I did work. That's why I got
Hey,
that.
that's a really good sniper.